world is ending! But actually not, because Australia is still alive. In other news, happy holidays, everyone! So Christmas is a great time of year. It's a time of giving. It's a time where you're not too preoccupied with school. You get to see people that you haven't been able to see in a long time, like old friends. But for a lot of athletes, it's the most difficult time of year. Christmas is one of those times where a lot of athletes will have what we like to call Christmas training camp. It's like the time of death. Basically, because you don't have school, you get to do your sport like 24/7. It's constant training. For a lot of swimmers, the plan is that there's a trip that's booked. And I've been on a couple training camps myself, and for the most part, they've actually been quite fun. But there was one training camp that my friends and I thought was the most grueling experience of our lives. Back when I was on a different team, we went to Costa Rica. When we first thought we were going to go there, we're like, oh yeah, Costa Rica, a great place. It's going to be warm. We're going to get to be on the beach. We were going up into the mountains in the rainforest. So we were all excited, all in high spirits, going up into the mountain. We're like, okay, so should be able to see the beach around now. We got up the mountain. There was no beach. It was surrounded by trees, and we were in the middle of nowhere. I already knew it was going to be interesting. We got into the country club, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. My coach decided that it was a great idea to start swimming in the dark. There were no lights on, and it was pitch black, and there were no lane ropes, so you had no way to gauge where you were going. And it got to the point where so many ridiculous things happened. It was considered the most insane and grueling part of my life, easily. Like, the team is obviously co-ed. You have both boys and girls, but they're treated differently. Girls put on weight more easily than guys do. So for meals, we weren't allowed any bread, any butter, and no sugar. And the boys were allowed as much bread as they wanted. We were supposed to sit there and watch them eat it. We would have the same thing pretty well every day. For dinner, it was always fish, rice, vegetables, water. There were very few choices, and for girls, there were even fewer choices. So basically, like, for what we would do, we would get up in the morning, go do a 2-hour practice, then have breakfast. Then we'd be able to rest for about an hour. Second practice, lunch. There was a little bit of a break. And then you'd have your third practice, and then you'd have dinner. So you'd always have a practice before you were actually allowed to eat. And the third practice was always so late that your stomach was grumbling so hard in the middle of the practice while you're doing your set. It's practically unbearable, especially once you get towards the end of the week when all you've been eating is fish and rice and no bread. Needless to say, it was one of the healthiest points in my life, but definitely one that was not the most fun at the time. And my coach was insane. He had this thing called the Black Book, and my friends on the team will remember this for the rest of their lives. If ever you messed up even the slightest little bit in practice, if you had breathed one extra time and he saw it, you were in the Black Book. The Black Book meant that you'd have to come back straight after breakfast if it was in the morning, or straight after lunch if it was in the middle of the day, or straight after dinner, and you had to do an extra practice and redo the set that you made that one mistake on. There were a few people who were in the Black Book almost every day, and if your name did not get called out at the end of practice, it was the greatest moment of your life. Another one of the memories, my brother was on the training camp with me, and he and another friend were doing a set of 200s fly. Long course. We weren't allowed to breathe more than every 3 strokes. My brother got out and puked after about 400 meters, and his other friend turned around, looked at him, and at the end of practice, he got called out. They had to redo the set because my brother puked. Also, at one point, they were using the pull buoy so much that they got pull buoy burns from the chafing. Same friend who turned around and looked at my brother also had a book that he wrote the sets in. And at one point, some people on the team found it and started drawing penises in it. My coach found out, got so mad, called everyone out, and the people who drew the penises in the book had to do an extra set. Like, on top of swimming, we actually have to do weights, running. It's not just in the water. It's also a lot of cross training. every other morning we would have to go out and run in the field for at least an hour. Some of the girls who were considered fatter, they had to do extra running. That was usually done before lunch. Oh, and the runs were voluntary, but they were mandatory. You didn't really have a choice. For all the swimmers out there, let me go through a couple of the sets that we had to do. 5K fly, straight, long course. 15 800s pace for time. For drawing penises in the diary, they had to do a 10K. When you work out that much, you get very sore. My coach had this muscle rub in a big tub, and I think it was called like Tiger Balm. We would put it on our sore muscles and felt kind of like mint. You know how the feeling of mint is kind of fresh? Well, we didn't really realize what we were getting into until we jumped in the water with the Tiger Balm on, and this was like, it was slathered on. Didn't think much of it at the time. And all of a sudden, there was this burning. Like, your body was on fire. Literally, it felt like someone had poured gasoline on my body and lit it on fire, and I was in flames. We were crying in pain. Biggest mistake of our lives. But it did make your muscles feel really good after and really eased up the pain. Another thing that happens to ease your muscles is you take ice baths. We were forced to be in this tub and sit in there in groups of 4. We would have to get in and just sit there surrounded by blocks of ice, just freezing and shivering in our bathing suits. Not every training camp is that bad, obviously. I've been to Venezuela, and I've actually been to Barbados, and Barbados was great because we were on a nice little private beach. One of the times where we actually had the opportunity to go out and have some fun. It was a smaller group. We went snorkeling with turtles. Going away places is always kind of fun, even if you are going to work your ass off. There's always good mixed in with the bad, and how close you feel with your team after going through so much shit is amazing. If ever as an athlete you have an opportunity to go on a training camp, take it. Save up and take the opportunity and go, because it will probably either change your life or be an experience. It will make a memory that you will remember forever. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe. I put out new videos every Thursday. Hope you guys have a great Christmas, and I'll see you next week. Bye!